In terms of the changes that Klopp makes with Liverpool, you talk about asking the players to play in slightly different roles, as well as maybe tweaking the system a little bit for different games and depending on the personnel available. Do Tottenham have that option, particularly in their attacking positions?
That's the problem. I think when you look at Harry Kane, if he doesn't play, it's very difficult. You then look and say, all right, OK, who would come in for his like-for-like replacement? You could play Moura there, but Llorente would be the like-for-like replacement. When you talk about Liverpool, you talk about Salah being able to play in that centre-forward position. When you talk about Manchester City, you talk about Sterling being able to play the false nine. You talk about Jesus being able to go in there. But it would be very difficult for Tottenham to line up with Harry Kane in the team in any other position than what he's playing, like Liverpool are able to do, like Manchester City are able to do. So there is a big reliance on Harry Kane because of that. But the one argument that Tottenham supporters will look at is that if you've got Tottenham's strongest 11 out there on the pitch, within their budget, who can you go and sign that's actually going to make that starting 11 stronger? And it's very, very difficult to change that. But one thing that other teams have got over Tottenham, I would say, is that they have that flexibility where other players within their strongest starting 11 can go and play in that centre-forward position.
And a lot of times it's like-for-like sort of, changes. And I think that the problem you've got with Tottenham is that Llorente is a very different player to Harry Kane. So Harry Kane is that one player that, he'll play off people's shoulders, he'll make those runs inside between the lines. He's somebody that will get on the end of things all the time, and he's prolific, he'll shoot from everywhere. Llorente is not one of those players. He's more of a player that holds balls up. He'll get in the box, get a high ball. So they're going to have to change the way they play slightly to fit him inside if they need to.
How difficult is that for them to do?
No, it's not. I don't think it's difficult. It just, the way that Tottenham have played for so long, it takes a little bit of the edge off the way that what's made Tottenham so good. And that's always been their biggest challenge, is to try and find someone, firstly, who is good enough to take over the reign from Harry Kane if he's not fit or needs a rest, and plays a similar sort of style.
There was some talk at the start of the season about Chelsea challenging Manchester City. Having lost the game in the way that they did against Wolves, conceding those two goals in 4 minutes, and Sarri saying he was disappointed with how they reacted, the top four is that focus. Was that their realistic focus all the way along?
I think so. I think Sarri's come in and I think he's done an outstanding job. I think he's hit the ground running, and to be in the position they're in, I think he's done really well. Obviously, Manchester City, like I said, I don't think anybody's going to chase them. Catch them. Sorry. I think Chelsea's biggest problem, and I think the second goal against Wolves really summed it up, is that when you talk about Sarri, everyone talks about his vertical tick-attack, getting the ball forward quickly with short passes. But I think the problem is that on the turnover. So what's happened on a few occasions, and like I say in particular, the second goal, Willian has the ball. He doesn't have great possession of it. He's under pressure from a number of Wolves players. But what's happening is Chelsea are then getting straight on the front foot without actually being in good control of possession. So when they lose the ball, all of a sudden you've got players going out of position, and then the turnover then just puts them in all types of problems.
The one problem with that is it wouldn't be as big an issue if N'Golo Kante was more of a deeper sort of role, more of a defensive midfielding position. The fact that he wants him to get forward, to be more of a box-to-box sort of player, he is often one of those players that goes too soon as well.
Yeah.
And therefore, they haven't got the cover. Because if he's there, this guy, what he covers, we've seen what he's done at Chelsea, we saw what he did at Leicester. He is phenomenal, and I'd say he's the best defensive midfielder in the world. There's no two words about it. And I think he's kind of almost a little bit wasted playing in the position he's playing.
I think why Sarri's tried to do it, especially early on in the season, is he's had the energy of Kante. They want to press high. But by Kante running away from the ball, what you're doing, you're creating time and space for Jorginho. But what teams have done recently, Tottenham in particular, they've dragged Jorginho into wide positions, whether it be Son, whether it be Dele Alli, and all of a sudden the two centre-backs, they're open then. They're open to be got at, and that becomes a problem. I don't see any reason why you can't play Kante and Jorginho and then have that one running midfield. Loftus-Cheek, he's scoring a few goals. Maybe give him the opportunity, have Kante sit in, allow Jorginho to be that deep-lying playmaker. Kante, snuffing out all the problems that are coming their way and giving Loftus-Cheek the licence to go forward and join in.
Arsenal, 20 games, unbeaten. But Tom Farmer asked, do you think the goals conceded by Arsenal is the turning point in their unbeaten run? And how big a blow will Holding's injury be? First of all, the goals they conceded, is that going to prove to be something that can knock them off course?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely... What I would say is that they probably haven't conceded as many goals as what they could have done because they were very open at the start of the season. I think what we've seen over the last 3 games is Emery look at his team and go, right, OK, going forward, we're always going to score. Can we make ourselves a little bit more solid at the back? He's changed the system. He's gone to 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it. And he's having the likes of Xhaka or Guendouzi sitting with Torreira, who's been an exceptional signing. You're getting the width from your wing-backs. And what it means is that front three, they can play narrow together and interchange. So they're always going to cause problems, but it's the defensive side making sure that that's the solid part, because they will always score goals, but they've just got to make sure that defensively they're strong enough.
It's that time, isn't it? It's a time of adjustment in the new manager, the way he wants to play. You know, they've had time now to change. I mean, obviously Petr Cech's not in goal. You've got Bernd Leno there. He's a more comfortable guy with the ball at his feet, and that's definitely his strength. And so it's taken them a little bit of time, but they've progressed, I think, a lot more quicker than everyone probably expected them to, particularly after the first 2 games of the season. Mind you, they were very tough games, as we know. But to go on a run of 20 games without defeat is phenomenal. And revert back to the Tottenham game, and they were excellent from the off, which is un-Arsenal-like, isn't it? I mean, you talk about how slow starters they've been, and they're only one of only 2 teams in the league, not to have been leading at half-time, along with Cardiff. So, I mean, that's a bit of a scary record to see where they are right now on the table. And
yet Kolasinac says they're tougher than they were last season. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. When you look at the North London derby, you look at Lichtsteiner. I mean, when Tottenham scored, there's that real passion back in that team. That seems like to be a real togetherness, passion, desire, willingness to fight for one another. And that was kind of something that you probably look at Arsenal in the last couple of years and say that was missing. That wasn't always there. They just look like a unit that's really together now. And a manager who, he's not afraid to make big calls, big decisions.
Mesut Ozil has been the fall guy in all of this, correctly?
You know what? He's a phenomenal player on his day. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, he hasn't done it enough times. He hasn't been consistent enough in showing his qualities. And I have to say, Arsenal are a better side without him at this moment in time.
I think with Ozil as well, we all know how good he is on the ball. I think the problem is when you look at the way that Emery plays, when they lose the ball, they want to press high. They want to go after the opposition. You've got to do that as a unit. You have to be strong as a unit. If you've got one player that isn't doing that, then that chain can be broken and you can be countered. So I would say that Ozil, we know what he's capable of on the ball. I would say more than likely the reason that he isn't playing is because of what he does off the ball. I don't think he will press like an Iwobi, like a Lacazette, like an Aubameyang, like Ramsey, who's been playing as well, who in my opinion, you would want them to get a new contract sorted for him. It doesn't look like it's going to be that way. But also I would say, when you talk about toughness, to add to that, we'll talk about fitness as well. You look at the amount of goals that they're scoring in the second half of games. And if they're going in at half-time and behind, there's no panic because they know that they get stronger as the game goes on. So, for example, you look at the game against Manchester United yesterday. Over the last couple of seasons, they'd have lost that game. I don't think there's any question about it. But now their mental toughness, they looked as though they could go on and win the game. They were asking all the questions from Manchester United. Hey, we know he made a mistake, but then he made some outstanding saves in the second half.
Is it 25 of their 34 goals in the second half? Is that right, Arsenal?
I think it's something along that line. You know your stuff. You know your stuff, don't you?
I knew you would remember that. But yeah, we asked you to take a look at what you think the top 4 is going to be at the end of the season, having discussed the runners and the riders. Significant name missing from that. We'll talk about them next as well. Let's take a look then at what the guys have gone for in terms of the top 4 at the end of this Premier League season. And it's exactly the same. We could have just done one.
Possibly.
Yeah. So Manchester City, we've explained all the reasons why you think that they're going to get the title this season. Liverpool in second place. Do you still think that they've got a wobble in them between now and the end of the season? Will they tail off at any stage?
Every team goes through a period of time, I think. I mean, the only one that probably won't is Manchester City. They're probably going through that right now, and they're still winning games because they're not playing this perfect style of football at the moment, but they're still playing unbelievable football. But I think Liverpool, the energy of which they play each week, Champions League, the pressure that they have on trying to emulate what they did last season, I think the constant threat or the thought of having to press and chase Manchester City, that all at some stage may take its toll, maybe. But, I think at the moment, Man City are the one team that probably doesn't look like they will slip up anyway.
And why Tottenham and Chelsea over Arsenal?
Arsenal, I think they've got stronger defensively, but I still think there's probably question marks over them defensively. I think Tottenham and Chelsea defensively stronger and will get the ball in the back of the net as well, like Arsenal will do. So I'm going to stick with that. Listen, maybe completely wrong, but...
Yeah, I think with Arsenal, having won 20 games in a row, or sorry, undefeated in 20 games, the big challenge will be when they lose a game, how they react to that. And then you'll see the real characters within that change room. Is that togetherness really there? I mean, what you're seeing so far, I'd say they'll probably just, brush it off and pick themselves up again. But, sometimes the doubts then start to creep in. If they get 1 or 2 injuries as well, that could be an issue for them. What they've done so far is incredible. I just think the longer term, over the course of the season, it's probably just not enough at this moment in time.